I'll get this going. Okay, and just before you start, Amy, I just want to introduce everyone to Sarah. Sarah is not officially a member of the committee, but she has an interest in helping out and asked if she could join the meeting. So of course we said yes, she could join the meetings and we would be happy to have her help out. So she is here with us, so she will be able to answer questions and ask questions, but she will not be able to vote on a motion. Okay, just for everyone's clarity on that. So Sarah, unless you would like to say anything, welcome. And Amy, I will let you go ahead now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start with the land acknowledgement. So we would like to begin with respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and the people of the Three Fires Confederacy. These traditional territories upon which we live, work, and play and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and tradition. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection to Indigenous people with this land, its waterways, and resources. So then adoption of the agenda. So it'd be resolved that the candidate committee agenda for February 22nd, 2024 be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Kyle, seconded Brian. All in favor? That's moved. Declaration of any pecuniary interest. Is there any members of the committee? Members of the committee are required to state any pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Is there any interest that anyone wants to share? Nope. So next is the approval of the minutes held on January 11th, 2024. It'd be resolved that the minutes from the candidate committee meeting held on January 11th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover? Lynn and Brian second. All in favor? Okay. So now we're into new business. So it looks like the first item is the involvement of the OPP and Shelburne District Fire Department. Who's sharing about this one? Alex?
All right, thanks, Amy. So at the previous meeting, it was requested that staff reach out to the OPP and the fire department as far as potential involvement for activities. I did reach out to the OPP. The first individual that I emailed said, I'm not the right person, emailed this person. So I emailed that person. I have not yet received a response, and I was on holidays and haven't had a chance to follow up with since I've been back from holidays, but I will put that on my list of things to follow up with next week. I will say though that they did indicate that they weren't aware of any simulator that was in the area that we could use. So, but again, that wasn't communicating with the right person. So hopefully I will hear something and have a further update on that one for the next meeting. As far as the fire department goes, I was emailing with Ralph and he was available to attend the meeting. Unfortunately didn't happen, was not available to attend tonight. So we will re-invite him for March 7th. But he did indicate that the smokehouse trailer is no longer suitable for use, but they can probably come up with a demonstration of some sort. And then he just wanted to have a discussion with the committee about what the committee would like and what the fire department could potentially include. So because that was on the previous agenda, it just carried forward, but that's the update on that for now. And hopefully Ralph or another fire department representative will be available for the March meeting.
Does anyone have any questions for Alex? Anything they want to talk about for under that topic? No? Okay, so the next one is involvement with Go with the Crow real estate. Was that another one where they were supposed to attend last meeting?
Yes, and they had indicated, they had emailed me and said they were hoping to attend this evening. So that was earlier this week that she said she was coming, so maybe she'll log on in a bit. But otherwise I'll just re-invite them. I know in the original email from her, if bear with me just 1 second, she indicated that let's just take a peek. They did have the soccer balls, but they were looking for more information on what the committee could do to help, as it was a lot of work and they didn't really feel they could do it on their own. So we will re-invite them to the next meeting unless they show up in a little bit.
Kyle?
Are they looking for volunteers to help with what they're doing, or what exactly are they looking for?
It wasn't 100% clear to me in the email that I received. And rather than going back and forth via email, I just said, you know, let's talk about it at the meeting. So that way they could say exactly, request of the committee exactly what they were looking for.
Brian?
I had talked to Dave and I actually had a conversation, let's say about 2 weeks ago. They're interested in doing some things, so I was throwing them some different ideas that they were going to check out to see if they could do it. One of the things was like an Xbox or PlayStation tournament for kids. So they were going to see if they could arrange getting like TVs and Xboxes and stuff like that, and then doing like a $20 entry fee, and then the winner of the tournament would get X amount of dollars, and then the rest I kind of hope that they would donate back to the candidate committee. But that's kind of what we did some discussions on that, and then I also talked to them about some other things regarding just different things they can do. So I know they're definitely on board to do something. It's just what I don't know yet. So.
Any other comments about that? I guess we can't really talk about much unless they join. One thing that I didn't see on the agenda, but we talked about, I think it was at the last meeting, the activities that we were looking to book. Len, I don't know if you have an update on that.
I do. We have booked with, oh gosh, we've booked 3 bouncy castle style events. It was with
Castlemania.
Yeah, thank you, Castlemania. And I believe that the check was sent and they've submitted their insurance form and everything's looking good. They came in, I think, was it $2,100? Cheryl, can you help me out with this one too? Because we talked about that one too. The other one was more expensive. Cheryl, Mike?
Cheryl, you're on mute.
She's still on mute.
She's got a new laptop she's still figuring out.
That's okay. All right. Can anybody read lips?
Okay, so no, I switched to my phone because I can't figure out the stupid laptop. I I don't have that email in front of me, but I know it was in the budget that you had talked about, so I
Yeah,
just
let me
don't have
see.
that in front of me.
Let me see if I can find that email while we're scurrying about here.
Sorry,
Yeah, I
because
just-
you're,
$2,231.75.
That sounds familiar. The other one was like over $3,300. Now we do
Yes.
have to provide them with hydro.
Yes.
Either generators or what have you.
And they're providing staff.
They are providing staff. So it was a good deal, or a better deal than what we had talked about before with the other company. So we've got that activity, and there's 3. I'm still looking for the email here, see if I can find it. 3. There were 3 stations. I think one of them was like a bouncy castle style station. One of them was a kind of a like a maze of some sort. I don't know. There was air in it. That's all I know.
And I think the last one was a slide. Is that?
Yes, one of them was a slide. Oh, was one of them the Velcro? I'm not sure. One of them
Might have been what we were talking about in the last one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm just trying to look back.
So
Sorry.
then does that mean that I get to throw you at Velcro?
Sure. Why not?
Can I help, Kyle?
All right, lay off. Both is jeepers. I still can't find that email. I'll find it. Oh, hang on. Canada Day. Where we are.
What in the email are you looking for?
The one where the
Show them?
what's that? The one that
Show
showed
what
them.
they
Yeah.
are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I have the one email, one was a slide,
Oh, okay.
one was the axe throwing,
That's what it
and
was.
one was the bouncy castle.
Okay, so you can throw axes at me then instead of Velcro. Thanks.
I'd still rather throw you in.
Okay. What was there anything else in that? Yeah, so we've got that bouncy castle situation sorted out. Can't think of anything else. We've got a sponsor. KTH is going to sponsor us, or is that different thing? Sorry, Amy.
That's a different thing.
It's a different thing. All right. We'll
Does anyone have any questions for Lynn? Nope. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about for entertainment and activities? Those were kind of the only items on the agenda for that section, but just want to see if there's any other discussion that you want to talk about specific for entertainment. Nope. Okay, so next is the sub-working group for the beer garden update. I think Brian might have an update on that one. I think that was the last.
Yeah. Sorry if it's loud here. My dog's playing with his phone. So I did talk to the microbrewery. They're trying to see if they can get enough staff to help with the doing it. Last conversation I had with them, they're not sure if they're gonna have enough people to be able to have monitors and all that stuff, and they can't afford to pay off-duty police officers. It's just too much money for them. But I did have a conversation with, again, Dave Crow, and he thought maybe they might be able to do something as well as his wife, I think, I'm not sure if that's right, Kyle, or
Yes, it is.
yeah, she brought it up to the cadets or something
Yes.
about doing something. So if the cadets are on board, I would do that because it's probably more of a sure thing than versus the brewery, but they are still looking at it. But
Okay,
we
so
can't.
with the Canets, my wife is also a Canet, so I had her bring it up to the Canets. They are fully on board. They are also aware that we were talking to this brewery and said, okay, so if the brewery is going to come on board and give us sponsorship or money outside of the sales, then that's where we're leaning towards. The Canets are on board if that falls through, which it sounds like it has fallen through. So if the committee tells me to, I will go back to the Canets and say, yes, we need your help. And the Canets will absolutely run the beer garden.
Something else I could do is maybe ask the brewery if they would be willing to supply the brew at a discounted price or something like that, but
100%. Absolutely.
I,
But I
I,
would still hit them for a sponsorship if we could.
I'm pretty sure we're getting one of those.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The Canets are more than willing to step up and run the beer garden for us. That we just need to tell them that yes, it's a go.
And will they need anything from us, Kyle? Like help with it?
They will take care of the insurance. They will take care of the staffing. They will take care of the beer that will be provided. Alice, is there anything else that we need to provide for them?
So what about the security? Does that include the staffing?
Security would be our responsibility.
Have they run an event like this before? Like, have they done a beer garden before?
Many times. Many times.
The only thing I would suggest would be a resolution from the committee. And then because it still requires council's permission, and the committee can request permission from council on behalf of the Canets and or the brewery, right? Like maybe the brewery and the Canets can connect and work together and see if the combination of the two of them working together.
Mhm.
If they can't get enough staff and the Canets are willing to staff it, I don't
Brian?
know about the logistics, but
Do we have is that something we can get quote for off-duty police officers, I guess is what we need to have.
I honestly, if we can get a security company, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than off-duty officers.
So is someone like Ted?
However,
Alice has a statement on that one.
it's not our decision. It'll depend on like who we're going to ask to apply for the alcohol special occupation permit, which is done through the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario. And they determine what level of security you have to have.
Fair enough.
So part of that process, they will then say, you need to have this.
Okay, so Brian, if you can connect with me, we need this done ASAP. If the brewery is still willing to participate and have the Canets help them with staffing, then let's do the brewery thing, because that's to me the easiest way to go, especially if they're going to do the security and everything else we need.
Does the town have so like the Shelburne Arena says that you have to have off-duty police officers. Does the town of Shelburne have a say? Like, I know it's the gaming board and alcohol board, but does the town have a policy that it has to be XYZ or?
I will send you both I will send the sub-working group the alcohol policy for the town. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but I know that there is a policy, but I also know that it still references Shelburne Police. So
they
it's
don't
a
exist
policy.
anymore, so that doesn't work.
It's a policy that is on the list to be updated, but has not yet been completed. So, but the specifics of the policy, even if they can't be met, the intent of the policy needs to be met.
So Brian, why don't you and I converse with the brewery as well as the Canets? I'll be the Canets liaison, you be the brewery liaison. You and I sit down, talk together, figure out what each needs.
I'll try to meet with them tomorrow.
Perfect.
so I can get something. When's the next council meeting?
Next council meeting is next Monday, I believe. Alice, is that correct? Yeah.
Is it too late to get that on the
So
agenda
the only way to get it on the agenda would be for a notice of motion from a counselor. However, I can bring a resolution from this committee to council, and that would go on the March meeting.
The question is, what is the resolution we're looking to make the notice of? I'm happy to make the notice, but what
Well,
exactly?
I don't think a notice would be the best. I think a resolution from the committee would be better.
Okay,
A resolution from the committee asking permission from council to have a beer garden with the sales of alcohol at the Canada Day event on July 1st. And
Okay.
then if council supports that resolution, then either the Canucks or the brewery, whoever is going to do it, can use that resolution and apply for the special occasion permit from the AG Alcohol
So
Gaming Commission of Ontario.
so I will move that motion right now to have that go forward to council. If we can have a seconder and move that forward.
All in favor?
Sorry, I had to lower
Oh,
my
sorry.
screen because I'm typing the motion. Can somebody tell me who the seconder was?
You can put me.
All kinds of hands that flew up, Alice, so take
I can't see hands. So I have to switch screens to type.
Sorry, you can put Amy.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to put that the resolution that the Canada Day Committee requests the permission of council to host a beer garden at the Canada Day event on July 1st, 2024 in Fiddle Park.
Either way, we're gonna have either the cadets or the brewery, one or the other.
one or the other, absolutely, yes.
So
And
let's
that's
get-
already
Okay,
on board.
so I'll put to host a beer garden at the Canada Day events on July 2nd, 2024 at Fiddle Park.
Isn't it July 1st?
Sorry, where did I get July 2nd?
I was gonna let's be specific here.
It is a leap year.
Do I need to put in partnership with the Canucks? And or can you give us the name of the microbrewery at this point?
I can, it's Mono Cliff Brewery.
Do we need to have it that specific, Alice, or if we leave it open?
I'm not 100% certain if it's better to be specific or if it's better to be.
I personally, I kind of think that is better if we leave it open than
Okay.
if not limiting it to who's going to do
Perfect.
it.
So
Can
the
we
Canada
say
Day,
something? Can we say something about it being run by another organization, or because the way it kind of
Yeah.
sounds is that we're intending to run it ourselves?
exactly. That's what, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Will they not like that it says just like an outside organization without actually
Yeah,
specifically showing?
I've found in my time as a counselor that bureaucracy is ridiculous and specifics are very important. So yes, let's cover every hole we possibly can.
And that's why I was suggesting putting in the Canucks and
Yeah.
or the beer.
The cadets are on board, but again, I would try to keep that open to whoever we possibly could get to cover that, if that makes sense.
Can we say
Uh,
by an outside group to be determined at a later date? Like implying that we will get approval for the, like, will we have another resolution when we approve, when we find a group?
What's the best way to handle that, Alice? What do you think?
That's what I'm just trying to determine. I know Jennifer had sent me a response on that. I'm just looking for my response on that. So council approval is required in order to obtain the license. The committee needs to submit a request to council for approval to obtain a liquor license. You need to have a specific day and exact time.
So we don't have to say who's involved.
That's not what this indicates, but you do need, we have the day, but we don't have the exact time yet.
Okay, that we can nail down today, I think.
And I would think if we would start it as soon as the facility, like, we have opening ceremonies. Now, during the liquor license, we have to supply some type of food, do we not? So do we have a food vendor? This will be the,
I don't know the specifics of what a liquor license requires.
from my time getting liquor license before for like DJing and stuff like that, there always had to be some type of food. It can be paid food. It doesn't have to be free food. So I'm sure we could at least get a pizza joint or something to, or even if we buy the pizzas and have them for sale or something.
I guarantee that we will get at least one sponsor who is going to be a food vendor, whether it's Johnny's or somebody is going to be there.
Does the Connect still have their food trailer, Kyle?
Food. I don't believe the Canets have ever had a food trailer.
Or was it the Lions that had the? I thought it was the Connects.
For the Lions, Brian.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, and they have gotten rid of that trailer.
Okay.
Silly question. Well, I lost about 5 minutes of the meeting there. I'm not sure. I don't need a recap necessarily, but
You
We're
need better
talking-
internet, man.
what's that? You were talking about me? Fine. Everybody had frozen, and anyway, fine.
Okay.
So if we need permission from council with the exact date and the exact time to apply for the liquor license, but whoever is going to be running the beer garden is who is going to be applying for the liquor license. So it's a
Right.
little premature, even at this point, to go to council and ask for that permission until we know who's going to be obtaining it.
That's
Um,
true. Yes.
So
We
I would.
don't.
I
Okay,
would
so
suggest
Alice,
pausing.
can we do this, Alice? Brian said that he can contact the brewery tomorrow. Can we do this by email where Brian contacts the brewery and get a yes, no? Confirm
Yes,
with
because
me.
you have a sub-working group, which
Right.
you are both part of,
Yes.
that can firm things up for the beer garden. Once you have that firmed up, then bring that firmed up, this is the way it's going to be, back to the committee. The committee can pass that resolution that we accept that this is who is going to be hosting the beer garden. This is how it's going to be run. This is who's going to provide what.
And that can be
then
done by email, correct? Because it's
the
sub.
specifics of working it out, yes. And then the subcommittee brings the specifics back to the committee and the committee approves what the subcommittee is doing.
Okay. So
Okay. And then once you bring that back and the committee approves it, that's when we would do the resolution to council asking permission for this group to apply for the liquor license.
okay, so Brian, call me tomorrow after you've talked to the brewery and see where they're at and where we're at, so that I can get back to the Canets and figure out where we're at.
And
See,
maybe
like-
even schedule a Zoom call with someone from the Canets and the brewery and whoever's in this sub-working group.
Sure. 100%.
And if you can have an update for us, the next meeting is in a couple of weeks, so it's still with plenty of time.
Okay.
See, the big thing is everyone needs to know what they have to supply.
Right.
If council says yes, but you need X, Y, Z,
Okay, so going to the brewery needs to provide security, they need to provide insurance, they need to provide the beer. Alice, am I missing anything on that one?
But they may not have to supply security.
It might be the town that has to.
If it's
do
a
the
town that has to
security.
provide security, then that comes back to the committee and we have to look at that.
Correct, correct. Again, that's going to be determined partially by the Alcohol Gaming Commission.
So let's do this. Brian, go back to the brewery. If Alice, if you wouldn't mind, look at the AGO and figure out what we need to have provided as far as security, etc.
Again, I won't be able to tell you that because they, based on the application, part of the application approval is them saying you need to provide this. So even if I were to go on their website, it will say it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. I'm not going to be able to give you that
Okay.
specific answer.
It's what the town requires. So does the town require any special?
It's
Like I
all
said-
based. It's all based on the Alcohol Gaming Commission.
Because at the arena, it has to have off-duty police officer. It can't be security. It has to be off-duty police officers.
It's all based on the commission.
Okay, so the town doesn't have a set
We
policy.
do have
that
an,
it has
we
to
do
be.
have an alcohol policy, and that's where I said I don't know the specifics of that policy. I will forward the sub-working group that policy.
Okay, so Brian, let's wait for Alice to get back to us with that. And then you and I will work together to figure out what's necessary. And then you go to the brewery, find out what they can do, what they can't do, and where the holes are. Where the holes are, I will go to the Canets to help see if they will fill the holes.
Has the brewery ever like done an event like this before where they've sponsored and done
They've done the Toronto Beer Festival and stuff like that.
but would they have been running that
They
or
would
just attending it?
They were just a vendor there. Same as theoretically what they're doing for us too, other than they're putting their name, like they still have to get, well, they have a special permit anyways to have alcohol outside of their location. Because it's a microbrewery, so they can do taste testing and all that stuff at other trade shows, and they have an open vendorship on that. This is totally different because we're going to require them to have a liquor license for this event, plus naming the town.
Muted.
Sorry, naming the town of Shelburne to insurance and all that stuff, right? Because they've never had to do that before. Or when they go to like the beer festivals, the insurance is already laid out for everyone. So it's one fee, and that includes everything. But so I'll talk to them. I'm still going to talk to them tomorrow, and find out, like, maybe it's going to be a flat out no, and or maybe it'll be a flat out yes. They were really interested, but they really want to know like what they have to have, right? So, and like the liquor license is not a problem. They can get that, no issue really. It's just, does the town have something in place that they say you have to have this? Because a lot of places have that, right? Where the town or municipality or all says you have to have this. Because we'll have to supply fencing, I would assume, Kyle, right? Does the town have that fence?
Absolutely. That portion, I don't see town having any issue. The Public Works, I'm sure we can get to put the fence up for us without issue.
No, it can't be snow
Brad
fencing.
is well aware of Canada Day, has helped us
Yeah, I
every
know.
single year, so I don't see that being an issue.
But it can't be snow fence anymore, my understanding.
Really?
Yeah, it actually has to be a physical fence.
Has to be metal fence.
Really?
So
Yeah.
we'd have to rent sections of fence from a company and have it installed.
I hadn't heard that. Okay, that's new to me.
I'm not sure, like, again, though, they'll be on the liquor license saying that it has to be fenced in or not.
Mhm.
Unless the town says it has to be fenced in. Don't know.
And sorry, who's the third individual that's on that sub-working group? Is it Amy, are you the third
Yeah.
individual?
I think I am, yeah. Sounds familiar.
Make sure you're including Amy in your conversations then.
Okay, so then Brian will go back and talk to them, and we'll get an update at the next meeting.
And we're
Um,
just gonna pause on that resolution for now.
Brian,
Amy, you do Lobster Fest, don't you, a little bit? Or don't you?
Ribfest.
Or Rib Fest, sorry. Do they have a beer garden? I've never.
Yeah, we do. We run it ourselves, so we don't have like a sponsor doing it. It's like a revenue generating. It's like our biggest revenue generating activity at the Ribfest. So we run it ourselves and buy all the beer and do all the volunteering. It's a lot of work, but
Is that through like sorry, like Kinsman or like
with the Rotary Club of
oh
Orangeville.
it's a road, okay.
Is there any
No.
other
I
questions
was
for that topic?
just going to say a long, long time ago, the Lions did their beer garden up at the for a fiddle contest, and that was that was buying the cases up front and getting a license, and that was a simpler time.
Yeah, I like the idea of having someone else run it. It's a lot of work, and we didn't really have volunteers last year, so I don't think we should run it ourselves. Anything else that anyone wants to say about the beer garden? Okay. The next item is stage rental update. Are we still talking about that?
Do you want me to take that one or no?
Go ahead, Len.
Okay, so the answer to that question is we're going to be renting a stage this year. We've had a 20 by 20 dance floor donated for the day, and in exchange for a sponsor's booth. And they're just going to require a tax receipt just for but they'll come and install it and they'll take it away. It's the same one that they used for the Pickin' in the Park event last year, and it worked really, really well. So it's like two layers of one layer plywood and another layer of top plywood on top, and it's finished. It's safe. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome.
So that's going to be potentially we might not even be able to use the pavilion, right? If they go ahead and pour the cement for the pad under the pavilion. So we might not have that. So this thing might not be covered. That's the other issue.
Brian?
So the polar plunge, they used truck, and is that right? That they had the mics and everything set up on?
That was the D&D Pools truck, and they said we could use it for that event. But that was just a small stage. You're not going to get a whole band on the back of the truck.
No, or it might suggest because we put a whole band on our float trailers. Because last time we said we couldn't do that, but
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alice, the town does not allow us insurance-wise to use a flatbed.
Correct.
It's got to be an
Yeah.
engineered stage.
So based on what Len is indicating, what they are providing, we can use. And as he indicated, they're just looking for a tax receipt.
Yes.
So to give them a tax receipt, the committee would need to determine what level of sponsorship this would be equivalent to and pass a motion that they be awarded this level of sponsorship, and then that's the dollar amount of tax receipt that they would get.
What's our levels again? Brian's laughing. I'm not the only one who doesn't remember.
I was gonna ask the same thing. I don't remember. I want to say 750 is the top one, but I
There's, yeah, silver, I think it was a 250, they were just looking for a $200 tax receipt, but I think we
Say
suggested,
just give it to him.
I think we should, because they're going to be, so Compass Church is going to be using their space
Mhm.
that they would have gotten as a sponsorship. So, and I was talking with Jay about that, and they're still figuring out whether they're giving out freezies or glow sticks or whatever. So
So it's 250, 350, 450, or 750.
If they're only looking for 200, why don't we give them the 350? As far as the tax receipt goes.
Give them 700, doesn't really matter.
Well, we just
Right.
want to, because they're going to use the booth, it needs to be a minimum of 250 to match what you've already set for your sponsorships.
Right. But they're providing a stage for us, which should elevate what they're looking for, in my mind. So I would say put them to the next level up, which, if I understood right, was 350.
250 is the cheapest, and then 350 is the next one, correct?
So I would suggest that we give them the booth and we give them the 350 tax receipt.
So the 350 level of sponsorship comes with the booth and comes with the advertising. So
Personally, I'm okay with that.
okay.
So are you moving that as a motion, Kyle?
Sure. No problem.
I'll second it.
And Len, can you give us the name of the company to put in the motion?
It's not, it's just an individual. It's Mark Greenfield. And they're associated. Now, when I say stage, this is just going to be sitting on top of either gravel or on top of grass, right? It's just a smooth surface. So it'll be more of a pad. Yeah, it's just Mark Greenfield. And he has this stage that they use. Yep.
Brian?
Does he have to provide insurance on it? If someone slips and falls, or is that us that
That-
cover?
That would be the-
That covered under our insurance?
Yes. So that Mark Greenfield be given a $350 silver sponsorship for the donation and use of the stage,
It would be the stage and also giving him a booth.
which is part of the silver sponsorship that's covered under silver sponsorship.
And Compass Church will be using
Compass Church is
the
good.
booth.
Yeah, and that doesn't need to be in the resolution. They
Okay.
can just,
That's fine.
okay. So then we would just need a vote on that resolution, Amy.
Can someone move the motion?
So Kyle moved it and Brian seconded it.
Oh, okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So that was it for the stage rental. That's everything on the agenda. Was there anything else that anyone else wanted to talk about? Kyle?
I think we need to talk about timing. The
Yeah.
biggest issue of why we're not getting vendors because they don't know the time to show up and time that they're done. We need to set times for this because I've got vendors who are ready to go. They just need to know how long are they supposed to be there. So personally, I would recommend that we look at past history. We've started at 3, we've started at 2. We realistically, based on what we've got this year, I would suggest we start at 4 and have the vendor market start from 4 till 7. So a 3-hour vendor market.
Brian?
So if I was going to be a vendor, I'd want it to be longer.
You
To
want
get my,
longer?
well, just to get my dollars worth, right? Like last year, we had a lot of people showing up earlier, and then we're turning them away because it doesn't start till 3 o'clock or whatever. I think one of our problems we do have is that we are starting later, and that's giving people time to get out of the town to go somewhere to another show, maybe when there's nothing going on during the day.
Understood. The only problem that I see is that we don't have enough for this event to keep people there.
Well, that's what, so if we have vendors, we could open earlier, but we don't have those yet, right? So,
Right. And the
Uh,
vendors are being reserved on registering because they don't know times. I think we need to solidify that tonight if we could.
so I think we should start at 3 o'clock again. Especially if, you know, if I was a vendor, I want to be there for at least 4 hours.
Okay.
Trying to sell my product or whatever I'm pushing or whatever.
Mhm.
Second of all, we're paying $2,000 or whatever for bouncy castles.
Mhm.
We might as well get our dollar worth out of them.
Mhm.
You know, and hopefully Crow or whoever comes up with something else, and maybe we get some other amusement or something like that that can be done. I think we want try to go from at least 3 o'clock, I think. What time's the band start? The first one I know had.
We're 6, yeah, we're gonna back time from like dusk, so I think there were like 2 1-hour shows. Right, so,
Do we have two bands or is it one band right now?
we
wait,
have the Matlocks.
Okay.
And then,
Peter Carey.
Peter Cara. So there's 2 acts, so back time for that, so, you know, entertainment might start around, I don't know, 6:15, 6:30. Time
Okay,
to
so
change over.
just out of curiosity then, how long is Peter planned to play for? Is he doing 2 sets or is he doing 1 set?
That's an excellent question because I have not had any conversation with him. I thought that was the,
Well, okay, so as far as he's
I
understood,
thought he was a 1-hour set.
oh, okay, so that's even shorter than
That's what I thought. I don't know.
he was expecting 2 sets at an hour and a half with a half-hour break in between. So if we're going to cut that back to an hour set, great. You just tell me what you want, and we'll make sure it happens.
Well, the Matlocks are going to do 45, right?
Okay.
And then you'll need 20 minutes to clear the stage.
Yep.
Right. And I have no idea. I don't have any of the technical requirements for Peter Carey yet. So
You
he's
have
gonna have-
a USB drive and you.
Okay,
That's
fine.
basically it.
All right. So if he wants to do 2 45-minute sets, that's, you know, what time do we do? We usually do fireworks, what, around 9:30, 9:45?
No. It's not dark enough until 10 easily.
10.
I
So
think it was 10:15 last year when they went off.
Right.
okay, so 10, 9. Yeah, so that's going to be 9, 8. So if the Matlocks are on at 7:30, 7:15, 7:30, then they do a 45-minute set that takes it to 8 o'clock, 20 minutes to strike the stage. Peter's on, let's say 8:30,
Okay.
right? 8 does a 45-minute set, 20-minute break, 45-minute set. That's going to take us.
Alice?
If he was prepared to do more, then just start the entertainment a little bit earlier.
I'm okay with that as well. Like he's already prepared to do 2. So he's already prepared for an hour and a half with a half-hour break in between. So you're looking at 30 minutes break, 30 minutes. If you want to push the Matlocks back even further and start them earlier,
So
there's no reason
start
why
the
we can't.
Matlocks at 6:30,
Sure.
and then he would start about 7:30-ish. Then you have your opening ceremonies a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
Just for reference, the bouncy items are 4 p.m. start time, 8 p.m. takedown.
Makes sense.
Jaya, did you have your
So-
hand up?
Actually, I wanted to check regarding the vendors and the entertainment. Do we actually have to put a restriction of the hour, how long the vendor has to be there, or can they stay until the entertainment is there and the fireworks? I mean, maybe certain vendors would want to stay longer, again, to Brian's point, to sell more.
Mhm.
I think the ending is usually just when the fireworks is done or just before the fireworks. I think it's more like the start time that we need to nail down.
So we do have like a restriction when we have to stop and then start the. Okay.
Brian?
Actually, I'd like to hear what Sarah thinks. She's new to the committee, and
Absolutely.
she, what her feeling is as someone that's an outsider that doesn't know how it works. What her, just kind of what her feeling is like. Does it should be earlier? Should it be later? Should it?
Way to put me on the spot on my first night.
Obviously, Brian knows you very well, apparently.
I don't know, like 3 or 4, either way to me seems fair. I really don't know that it makes that much from an outsider's point of view. Like that 1 hour doesn't make that much of a difference.
Do you have kids,
Vendors,
Sarah?
it might. I have teenagers.
Okay, so
Yeah, they're both still teenagers. Had to think
Yeah.
about that for a second.
so when they were younger, would you want to come earlier, or are you okay sticking around to 4?
No, because little kids can only handle so much. But I figure people with little kids are probably going to go do activities, leave, feed them, get them to have naps or what have you, and then come back for fireworks, right?
Mhm.
So teenagers, I mean, if you have stuff that attracts teenagers to go, that's a different story. They can handle like longer times so long as they're entertained. Entertaining them can be kind of hard though.
Alice,
Alice,
did
you
you?
had a question?
I just have a comment that in previous years, the public swim at the CDRC, which is a free swim, has been 1 till 3. And we've always advertised that for them and done that with them. So my concern is with starting right at 3, is that going to be seen as trying to take away from the public swim? If, finish the swim at 3, come for 3:30.
Len?
I was just going to say, this is all going to swing on the beer garden. You know what I mean? If the beer garden wants to be there at 3:00, then we're going to open at 3:00. If the beer garden's not going to be there, then we can probably set our own time. But I think depending upon when, like the beer garden might want to open from, I don't know, 1 until whenever, which is a long day. I think, I kind of tend to want to agree with Alice. We don't want to step on
No.
CDRC's toes, but I think maybe we wait until we hear back from Brian and that subcommittee on whether the beer garden's going and what their expectation would be, and then we can structure it better around that. I don't know.
Do we know if they had an issue? Because we started at 3 last year, right? Do you know if they had an
We
issue?
started at 4 last year.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, and if, because there wasn't a lot of vendors and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like for those of you that were there, was there a lot of people there right at 4:00?
Oh, there was quite a few.
Yep.
I thought we did start at 3 because I thought I remember coming at 3.
Yeah.
Well, we did
The
start
fun
at 3.
zone, sorry, yes, the fun zone started at 3. And the
Right.
food and vendor market started at 3.
So I think what we were originally talking about was we needed to set a time for the vendor market. Can we just agree on that one part of it, and then other things can kind of start at other times, right? So we can have them start at 4, and then if we want to have other things start earlier, then that can be fine. but at least then we can get some vendors.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of vendors that are interested, but they're not signing up because they don't know the time. So we need to have a time set for a vendor market.
And I
The
would
other-
just go back to doing from 3 to 8.
And the food and vendor market you had is 3 till close last year.
One other piece is the bouncy castles. Do we know how early they're going to set up? Like if they start at
Yes.
4,
They're going to show up around noon.
that's good. Because if we stagger things, then we have to be careful about people setting up. It's kind of helpful to have everything kind of start around the same time, so that all the setup is kind of done together. Brian?
It's going to be real important to do the planning on where everyone's going to be set up this year.
Yeah.
Because if we do have vendors and they're wanting to leave at 8 o'clock, we can't have them driving through crowds or plus we're going to possibly have construction going on in the park too as well, correct? So like it's, and fireworks are going to be set up. We really have to plan it out better this year so we don't have people driving back and forth through the crowd and especially if we don't have the pavilion this year, if they're doing concrete or whatever, that's even taking up more space and the beer gardens. Like the space is going to become a problem.
Yeah, we'll have to do like a detailed like an outline. We do that for RibFest, so I can help with that.
And I think it's more that we should be on site looking at it versus trying to look at it through the map.
Yeah. When I do it for RibFest, we usually measure the area so we can make the outline like by scale.
But this year, it's going to be real important because we're going to have so much. If we're having vendors coming in and out, last year we had a problem with the food guys bringing ice back and forth through the crowd. They want to drive their vehicles through. We can't have that, so we got to lay it out in a better than how we had it. And then the police want us at the end of the night to have traffic. That gate goes south, that gate goes north. Like it was so.
Oh, really? How are we supposed to do that?
They told me that's what they want. I didn't do it, but because there's no way of controlling
That
it.
would be so hard to do.
Not possible. There's no way that we can organize that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we can ask if we do get the OPP representative at a future meeting is how would you, since this is the request, how would you suggest you step in to help us with this?
You know what? I love the idea, Alice. Great. Let's. Do you want me to talk to Jeff to see who the liaison officer would be for that?
Like I said, I did send an email out to who I was told to contact. I just haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay, perfect. I will leave it in your hands and hopefully we get somebody responding from the OPP for us.
Len, you had your hand up for a bit.
Yeah, just two things. First, I think the location for the police and the ambulance area needs to stay the same because they need quick access out if they get called away. So that I think that's set in stone. The one problem that I can see is this: do we have a? Let's say we don't have the pavilion, which is a nice shelter in case we have bad weather. I, for one, don't want my equipment to get wet. Just throwing that out there.
Len, I promise you that I've got a 10 by 10 tent that we can, if it's gonna potentially be bad weather, I will more than happily lend my tent for that.
I appreciate that. I have a 13 by 13. Not that,
Even better.
sorry.
Okay, so
Not
then
this isn't that kind of a conversation. You know, my tent's bigger than your tent.
Yeah.
I have a 20 by 20 with a steel roof.
There you go. No, I'm just thinking, is there a contingency? And again, it's all going to swing on if we have access to the pavilion, and if we don't, we may want to look at a different location for the stage.
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think for the outline, maybe we can have that included as a agenda item for
Okay.
another
All
meeting.
right, no problem.
It might be easier to kind of talk more about that when it's kind of a little bit closer, especially if there's going to be construction. We'll kind of need to figure out we'll have to kind of know more about the construction before we really
Yep.
dig into the outline. Brian?
Does the town have an idea when that stuff is starting or? No, okay.
Do they know when they'll have an idea of when it's going to start?
The update on that I received was last week was that they were looking into it.
So maybe in the next meeting we'll see. Do
They
we
know
want
I'm waiting for it.
to go back to the discussion about the times for the vendor market? Do we want to set a time for that specifically, and then we can try to get some vendors? So Brian, you were saying you wanted to start at 3?
I think so. Cause that way, and we're not stepping on the pools because it's close, like the pool shuts down at 2:50. And it's people can go from the pool to the park, to the vendors or whatever, right? You're keeping your flow going. We're not stepping on their toes in my mind.
And if we did it at 3 last year and they didn't have a problem with it, then I agree with 3.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
My biggest thing is we just need to have a time. The vendors right now are all up in the air going, when is it? And that's why they're not signing up.
So basically 3 to 7, right?
Sure.
Or 3 till close is what you had last time.
If we have 3 to close, the only thing that we have to make sure is that any vendor that wants to leave early, we have a safe direction for them to do so.
I would do 3 to 8.
We do 3 to 8. We just have to make sure there's a way for them to get out, because it gets like they'll have to be kind of close to that other entrance, the emergency exit.
So
I just
what
found
we-
people tried to start parking coming in for the fireworks between 9 and 9:30.
Well, at the same time, like we said earlier at the wrap-up meeting last year, we need to rope off where people are parking on that exit road and make sure they do not park there. So we need to make sure, and Alice, maybe we talk to Brad to make sure that's roped off so that cars cannot park where we don't want them to.
So do we want to say the vendor markets from 3 to 8? Is that what we're thinking?
I would move that as a motion.
Yeah, I would second that.
That's fine. And
All in
Let's get
favor?
that. Let's get that out on the social media pages and
100%. We need to get that out as fast as possible. That's what vendors are waiting for.
Alice, did that work all right as a motion for you?
Yes.
So we're saying 3 to 8. Perfect. I've got a lot of vendors I got to contact this week. Perfect. Good.
Brian, are you going to say something?
I said, have we never talked about, have we got any sponsors yet or any vendors?
Yeah, I was going to
that have
ask about that.
applied, or-
Do we have any updates?
I have received nothing officially from anyone. No paperwork.
okay,
I
I-
I
Go
actually
ahead.
do the Barbarito. I don't know if they want to just be a sponsor or a vendor, but I did speak to them, and I'll try my best to go hand over the paperwork or email them the paperwork as well.
Alice, would you be able to, I don't know where the paperwork is. Would you be able to email out the final forms?
Yes.
Len?
I did get a commitment from KTH for, I believe it was $500 sponsorship or, but they don't want to write a check until mid-April because it falls onto the next year's year end. So I think their year end is the end of March. So they said to approach them. So we do have a sponsor so far. So yeah, and that's all I have.
Brian?
Just, this is for Kyle, well, for the whole committee. do we have anyone that we need to honor this year for helping like sponsors in the past or?
I think last year or whatever it was that we did the plaques for, I think those were the committees or the businesses that helped us a lot for the last bunch of years. I don't think that we need to do that this year.
So this year we need to go after them to help again.
Yes, absolutely.
I know last year we talked about making like a list of all the local businesses. Is there, I don't think we ever ended up starting a list like that last year, right?
I don't think one was started. No.
Is there anyone that has time that they would be willing to try to make the list like that? It would just mean like going to the town website. I think the
It's
town website would list
even
a lot.
easier than that, actually, Amy. I just did the BIA website and we have literally all of the businesses in the BIA. So I can certainly grab that list and
Okay.
and share that with the committee.
Yep, because that would be a good topic to talk about at the next meeting. We can all kind of divvy up people to talk to, and then that way we're not talking to the same businesses.
Yeah, the BIA is only downtown, right? Like it's not.
It is. So it's basically any business that's from Gordon Street to what is that to Greenwood, I think.
We can use it as a starting point. I think the town of Shelburne's website has other businesses as well, so we can use that as just to add to it.
Sure.
But that would be a good starting point.
Okay. I'll be happy to email the committee the list of businesses that I do have from that website. So we can start there.
Is there any other topics that anyone wanted to talk about? Alice?
We are still needing somebody to take over the Facebook page for Canada Day. It was previously the former vice chair who is no longer part of the committee, so I have the information for it. But it really should be a member of the public or a member of the committee that is doing the updates. So if someone is interested, I'd be more than happy to hand that off to you. And then I do have one other item to bring up to the committee. Is anyone familiar with the Explore Dufferin Interactive Guide? So it's a guide that's put out by Dufferin County. And you can, if your event is open to the public and if it is, it has to take place within Dufferin County and it has to be between May 2024 to April 2025. So our event does fit with that. We could advertise the Canada Day event in that. The only thing is the links that they have provided are not working. So I'm not certain if there is a fee, but the deadline to apply is the 29th. So I can't go back to them and get the information and if there's a fee and bring it back to the committee to the next meeting. So I just am looking for is the committee interested in advertising in this if it's free?
I would suggest so, and if you'd like, Alice, send me the information you've got. I will chase them down and see what I can do.
No, it's just the link's not working. I know Jamie has more information, so I can just ask Jamie, right?
Okay. Okay.
So, but it's not a problem. Like Jamie has the correct people to contact. It's just it's asking me for a password, and I don't know what the password is. So,
okay. Well, I will move that. If it's free, yes, let's do it. 100%.
Okay. And if it costs, we'll just say because we don't have the funding this year.
We don't have the budget. So if it's free, yes, 100%. I will move that. Yes, let's do it.
Okay.
Do you need a resolution for that?
Yes.
Okay. So Kyle will move. Who wants to second that? Len?
I will.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Is there any other advertising that anyone wanted to talk about when it comes to Canada Day? Sarah?
I was just gonna say, I'm not on the committee, Alice, but if you want me to do the social media stuff, I can.
Oh, that would be great.
Thank goodness.
Okay, I am out of the office tomorrow, so can I touch base with you next week?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So other than
Yeah.
like social media, is there any other advertising that anyone thinks we should do? I was kind of worried that maybe some of the posts aren't getting seen as much as we'd like. Len, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say, Alice is supposed to help me move all that equipment tomorrow. So what do you mean you're not going to be in? Anyway, no, I think free advertising is better than no advertising, for starters. And yeah, thank you, Sharon, for covering off the Facebook thing.
Kyle?
Why don't, I mean, if you leave it with me, I'll talk to the business owners downtown as well and see who is willing to put up posters for us. And I can certainly print off posters advertising the Canada Day event, but the more of these we have around town, the better. Yes, Facebook is great, but having physical posters still does not hurt.
Yep, that's a good idea. And like the posters will be about recruiting for vendors and sponsors.
100%.
That sounds good. Brian?
Do we know if there's a bike draw this year?
Have not heard from Ken yet, but I can reach out.
Reason I say that, because I wasn't allowed to put the flyers through the school last year because we have to get permission from the Board of Education to be able to do that. So if that's something we we need to get on that fairly quick too.
Who's got the closest connection with Dave and
We can ask them when they come to the meeting on March 7th.
that would not be a bad idea.
Was it them that did it, or was it Ken Bennington? Or are
It
they
was
separate?
Ken Bennington, but he's no longer with Go With Grow. So maybe, I mean, I've got their phone number. Maybe I'd call them tomorrow. Alice, is it out of jurisdiction if I send an email, if I get a response from them tomorrow? We can't make a decision, I understand,
It's-
until we have the next meeting.
Yeah,
but-
as long as it's just information, not asking for a decision.
Okay, so if I reach out to them and I give information as an email saying they're interested, then we can leave that until the decision being made the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Should
Brian?
we give Ken the opportunity first since he's done it for the last couple of years before
I
we
would
go?
suggest that Ken should be the first one we contact. Do you have his phone number by chance, Brian?
I know where his office is.
Do you mind knocking on his door and just asking?
I can try it if he's there.
Okay, so why don't I hold up before talking to Go With Crow? If you can reach out to Ken first, because first right of refusal makes sense.
Yeah, he's done it for the last few years, so
He absolutely has. So if you don't mind reaching out to him and then get back to me and let me know if he's interested again.
Would Go With the Crow have an issue with that? Would there be issues having both of them involved?
There shouldn't be an issue because Ken has done it for the last 3-4 years plus.
Okay.
I don't see them having any conflict with that whatsoever because it was Ken in particular who did that.
Yeah. Okay. It would just be unfortunate if they wanted to like back out of the kid zone.
They wouldn't back out of the kid zone. That's totally separate.
Okay, cool. Brian?
So, as I brought up earlier there, my conversation with Dave Crow was about maybe doing an Xbox tournament or a PlayStation tournament. If they can't do that, is that something the committee may want to do? Like, it's not a whole lot of work. It's just having to have TVs and the games and stuff like that. But
Hi, Kyle?
The issue with that kind of a setup is twofold. Number one, you've got restrictions on copyright because people are playing video games that are not legal. Technically, it's not a legal thing to do. Second, you're looking at lineups, huge lineups just to play games. Thirdly, you're looking at least 3 consoles. You're looking at a significant setup. And technology-wise, it's not easy to pull off. I personally, because technology side of things and tried to set things like this up, I don't recommend. I really don't.
It would also be an issue in regard to, you know, having a TV bright enough to run. If it was a sunny day, we had that issue with the plowing match. They'd probably want it to be under a tent of some sort in case it did rain, and then there's getting hydro to it as well. So
My thought was in the pavilion during the day before the music and all that. And my thought was we limited to X amount of people, whoever registered first, and then you do it from there. But if it's an illegal thing, like with the games and stuff, I didn't know any of that stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, if you own the game, you should be allowed to play it. So
Alice, do you have?
I was just gonna say we should probably pause on that discussion because 1, it's not on the agenda for tonight, and 2, we really should wait and see what they are wanting to bring forward before we try to go around that. And then once they've brought it forward, then we can add it to the agenda to what else the committee wants to supplement that with.
That was everything on the agenda, and then we talked about a couple extra things. Is there anything else that we think we need to talk about now before our next meeting? Nope. So then can I get a mover to adjourn the meeting?
our next meeting is March 7th, you said, Alice? Yeah, okay.
I saw Cheryl raise her hand to adjourn. Thanks, Cheryl.
And someone to second? Kyle? All in favor? Carried.
All right, thanks very much, everyone.
yay, thanks guys.